Of Great Basin National Park Foundation. We're doing this special speaker series each month this year. We started in January. We've done a lot of great programs, and we'll be following up with an email that it has some links to our YouTube channel with some of those previous programs. The Great Basin Observatory was constructed and saw its first light 10 years ago. So we get to celebrate these two anniversaries simultaneously, the 40th anniversary of the park, the 10th anniversary of the GBO. And that's why we're going to take both July and August to focus on the GBO. So thank you all so much for coming and for your interest and for connecting a little bit more deeply to Great Basin National Park. It's a place we all feel, some type of connection to, and that's why you're here tonight. Who are we? Great Basin National Park Foundation. We're the nonprofit partner of Great Basin National Park, and we support a lot of different projects and programs at the park, which include the Great Basin Observatory, telescopes, interns, education programs for students, and also visitor experience, wayside exhibits. So there's just a lot of different things that we do as a nonprofit partner. And if you're interested to learn more, we're going to be adding you to our email list so you can learn more. And hopefully you can maybe become a Great Basin Guardian, which is what we call our supporters. So here tonight we have four amazing individuals that have been involved in the Great Basin Observatory project. And I am going to read their bios, and then I'm going to turn it over to them for our program. So Mike Nigley is Board Emeritus of Great Basin National Park Foundation. He's been part of the energy industry for his entire professional career. He served as the CEO or president of Nevada Power Company, Sierra Pacific Resources, which is now NV Energy, San Diego Gas and Electric Company, Separate Generation, and Southern California Gas Company. He served on Great Basin National Park Foundation's board of directors for 25 years and was the first director of the Great Basin Observatory, where he was involved in the fundraising, planning, and operations of the GBO. Melody Rodrigue is an associate professor in the physics department at the University of Nevada, Reno. She is deeply embedded in leadership roles for undergraduate curricula at UNR and serves as the undergraduate advisor for physics majors, and in 2010 was instrumental in starting an astronomy minor at UNR. She serves on the board of Great Basin National Park Foundation and is the chair of operations committee for the Great Basin Observatory. Paul Gardner is an engineer who worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was a chief engineer at the Palomar Observatory and worked on the Giant Magellan Telescope. In his free time, he created a business, Observatory Systems, that serves customers from private individuals to universities around the world in designing and building remote and robotic observatories. He currently works at Amazon on Project Cooper and is the optomechanical engineering manager. And Bradley Mills is the former lead astronomy ranger at Great Basin National Park. He came to the park as a seasonal astronomy ranger in 2021, before returning to the park in 2022. He came to astronomy in a roundabout way, growing up with an interest in the stars and science fiction, and then becoming engrossed in the night sky after starting his career as a ranger in 2018. From there, he was proud to steward the world of astronomy at Great Basin National Park during his tenure, leading the astronomy team, growing the Astronomy Festival to its largest size and attendance, and continuing to support the unique and special partnership with the Great Basin Observatory and Great Basin National Park Foundation. While he has since moved to New England to work with the National Parks of Boston and be with his significant other, his love for the night sky has only grown now that it is a rarer sight. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start with Bradley, who's going to give us the background and a larger picture of the national park and dark skies and how GBO and astronomy and night skies all come together at Great Basin. he's going to turn it over to Mike to talk more about the early days and the how things came together. And then he's going to turn it over to Paul, who's going to really dive a little bit into the actual construction and instrument itself. And then he's going to turn it over to Melanie, who's going to talk a little bit more about the partnerships and the success we've had through working together with the universities and then that's then we're gonna then we're gonna bring it to you all with questions. So if anytime during this program you would like to ask a question, if you would, it's preferable if you do that in the Q&A, but you can also put it in the chat. It's just a little bit easier for us to find it in the Q&A. So the Q&A on my Zoom right now is coming up under more. So you would press on more and then Q&A. If you can't find that, that's fine. Put it in the chat. You can put it in at any time and we will just get to it at the end of the program. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bradley.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Let me just make sure my screen gets shared. And- Okay, can everybody see that? I'm gonna hope so. So yeah, my name is Bradley Mills. I'm the former lead astronomy ranger at Great Basin National Park. I was there from August of 2022 until just this last winter, January of 2026. And as Aviva shared, I was got to lead the program while I was there and got to do a lot of really incredible stuff. But I'll go into just a little bit. Oh, here, that's me. I got to start my tenure off with pretty much with the annular eclipse that came through the national park back in October of 2023, which was really exciting. It was a really fun way to start. But I think something that is really special about Great Basin National Park is how it protects the dark in so many different ways. It started off as a national monument that mainly protected Lehman Caves, which is dark in its own right and this really incredible space underground. And it wasn't only until years and years later, almost a century later, that that really came to expand to include the night sky and everything special that comes with that. Um, in 2016, Great Basin National Park, we earned our International Dark Sky Park status. At the time, it was designated by the International Dark Sky Association. They recently changed their name just this last year to be the Dark Sky International, or DSI. So if you see IDA or if I accidentally say IDA, I really mean Dark Sky International, as they're now known. So what this designation means is that the park, both in terms of its management, its visitors, its people, its residents, all take a commitment to protect the dark sky in a much more intentional way. As I mentioned, Great Basin National Park was not originally conceived as a place that would protect the night sky specifically. Sure, we protect all the rocks, all the animals, all the trees, all those kinds of things that are very present and visible during the daytime in the park. But as soon as the sun goes down, we like to say half the park is after dark, but that certainly includes that night sky, that special resource that hangs above our heads every single night. Now, how do we protect dark skies? It can be kind of a complex question. It really starts with a commitment from folks that it is something that is important that we want to protect. We can't get there. We wouldn't have national parks if we didn't all agree that these places are important and we want to keep them around for as long as humanly possible. So when it came to protecting the night sky, the International Dark Sky Association, or Dark Sky International, look at me, already messing it up. Dark Sky International created a series of guidelines and kind of ideas for how we can best approach those situations and protect the night sky. That really starts with being far more intentional about our lighting. Great Basin National Park undertook a really big project to replace all of its lights with red lights that were compliant with the DSI's kind of lighting guidelines. Pictured here, you'll see the astronomy amphitheater, which was also fairly recently constructed. It just saw its first programs in 2021. It was constructed in time for the summer 2020 season, but that obviously didn't happen. So it was kind of our flagship here, honestly, in the National Park Service for areas that are purpose built for showing off the night sky. But you can see how the red lighting here is such an important part of it. Now, in this long exposure photograph, it obviously is not normally this bright. This is capturing a lot more light than you would see just with the naked eye. But this red light is really good for human eyesight and for light pollution, in that it makes it so that we are not contributing as much to the issue of light pollution. Um, Being only about 5 hours from Las Vegas, the brightest spot on planet Earth, you think it would be really hard to get away and find night skies like this, but it's because of the lack of lighting that allows us to essentially be uh, in an untouched sky. So the park has made a commitment by becoming a recognized international dark sky park that all of the lights that are going to be on at night, if they are going to be compliant with these guidelines and generally be red or more of an amber tone. So that way we're not contributing to light pollution. And then on the flip side is that kind of deciding what lights even need to be on to begin with. There were a whole lot of extra lights that used to be on pre 2016 that were turned off. And that can really be the simplest way of protecting our night sky. And that's really what the International Dark Sky Park designation does, is it makes us be much more intentional with how we manage and protect these night skies, which is really a really special way to approach it. Another part of being an international dark sky park is that it ended up drawing in a lot of extra interest, and it meant that we were internationally recognized as this great place for stewarding the night sky. So the park really wants to maintain that because it means that we are a draw for visitors from all around the world for our night skies, and it also is this great place for scientific research, and is why the Great Basin Observatory was ultimately placed here. There are a number of national parks that certainly are dark enough to have one, but we kind of ended up getting in there first and really creating a special place and a special program that is so focused on the night sky. Another part of that International Dark Sky Park designation, and something that makes it so special, is that we have to be intentional with how we share the night sky as well. Every single evening program we host here in the Astronomy Amphitheater has to have messages about light pollution. It has to we are required essentially to give these programs throughout the year, which is really special because it means we don't just get to get the designation, slap it up on the sign, and call it good. But again, it still requires very intentional effort through the years to maintain, but also to make sure that we are educating our visitors on why the night sky is such an important resource. So we have a whole bunch of different types of programs, as you saw in the Astronomy Amphitheater. We obviously do programs just for visitors, but you can see here too that we would bring in school kids and get involved outside of just our normal park visitors to get them participating with the Great Basin Observatory, and then ultimately getting to show them the tool that they were using to do real science, which is just really incredible. So yeah, you can see here, we would set up telescopes in our astronomy amphitheater about 3 or 4 times a week, depending on the year, where we would show off the night sky to our visitors. It would always start with about a 30-minute ranger program talking about some night sky topic. Mine was about caves in space, but we also had people who would talk about how wildlife would interact with the night sky, or perhaps where aliens might be, or other deep philosophical questions, or teaching people about the history of space exploration, or even just seeing the night sky from down here on Earth. A whole wide range of topics, depending on which ranger was giving it, that would change year over year, which always meant it was rewarding for our visitors that would return year after year, which is really exciting. But the thing is the night sky is not just available only at night. Great Basin was able to get some solar telescopes, as you can see here, with Ranger Jason, who was there a number of years ago, and we would show off the sun during the day. because a lot of people kind of think astronomy over during the daytime, but we can bring out this special tool and allow people to safely view the sun, which especially the last few years has been really exciting, since we reached the solar maximum and got to see a whole lot of different solar activity going on, from extra sunspots to prominences and the occasional solar flare. It was always really, really fun. You could pretty much find our volunteers, Tom and Edith, who I know are here in the chat. You could find them back on the back patio of the Lima Caves Visitor Center nearly every single day during the summertime to show off the night sky or show off our sun during the day, because it is such a special thing. So that is really a unique way of showing off the night sky that I think Great Basin really enjoys. Something that hasn't been going on as much recently, but I definitely want to highlight because it's such a unique partnership outside the National Park Service, was with the Nevada Northern Railway out in Ely, Nevada, leading the Star Train. This was a program that started around the same time we got our designation, and created this really unique partnership with the National Park Service, getting to go outside and help the kind of nearby community learn more about night sky pollution, or light pollution, and the importance of preserving our night skies. So a really unique way of showing off our night skies as well. Finally, we would also do the Astronomy Festival, and I think this one particular piece of the Astronomy Festival really highlights it the best. But the Astronomy Festival, the last few years, has been about 40 or so events, many of them volunteer-led, ranger-led, that would go on for 3 days every year during the new moon in September. And one of the pieces that was a highlight for me was Art in the Dark. Art in the Dark, you can see this was our 2021 version of Art in the Dark that hangs outside the Visitor Center every single year, is where we will create an art project under the red lights of the astronomy amphitheater, and then would show off during the day when it looked entirely different. So you can see all the some additional colors on here that were added by the photographer. He put up some UV lights to create an extra little bit of flare. But you can essentially see how this art piece almost looks only black and white, with the red obviously kind of filling in the white space instead. You can't really see the colors as you're painting under the red lights, which kind of highlights how the human eye works, and works a bit differently in these low light circumstances. But then when you get to the daytime, you get this absolute flurry of colors. You would get people would come by and see what they had painted the night before, and it would absolutely blow their minds, because they would not have thought that was a green or that was an orange. I'll go back again. You can kind of see just how different some of these colors are. If you pick a point out right now on this one and then find it on here, you'll see it. Wow, wow, went from a black or a red to a bright blue or an orange or a brown, or whatever it may be. So this was has been a hallmark of the festival the last few years, which has always been a lot of fun. I didn't get a picture uploaded for this one, but the last year our astronomy ranger Caitlin Kuba did a fantastic job creating some planets. You can see this one has got some planets on there. We created planets that on one side had a kind of true color almost that she had painted the day before, or in the weeks before, I should say, and then on the flip side, the red light interpretation of that created a whole lot of funky colors, which was a whole lot of fun. So the Astronomy Festival is kind of the tent pole of our programs throughout the year. That just creates a really exciting weekend to bring a lot of people together, from scientists and our volunteers who would give programs, give astrophotography talks, and to rangers doing constellation talks. There are ranger programs that kind of really all culminated every night with a several-hour-long star party, where we would have 20 or 30 volunteers showing off the night sky with their telescopes, which is always really exciting. Now, the Great Basin National Park Foundation is a really special part of our program as well, because they help support not only aspects like the festival, adding funding and helping support staffing in the form of our interns here. We've got every year some scientists in the park that are funded through the Great Basin National Park Foundation, that are a really incredible way of, again, kind of bridging science and outreach. You can see on the left here, we've got Andy, who was an SIP back in 2023, along with Molly there on the right. Andy and Molly are both scientists, both got degrees in astrophysics, And Andy is going on, he's at UNC Chapel Hill right now, I believe, doing a PhD program in astrophysics. So these are people that come to the national park for about 12 weeks, get a whole lot of extra outreach experience, learn how to talk to the public, synthesize these really big ideas that astronomy presents us with, and then sending them back out into the world with those extra skills so that way they can be better scientists, but also better communicators, and by extension, helping support more people protecting our national parks and our night skies, which is really incredible. Another really big way that the foundation has supported the program is in the form of securing us probably the single biggest donation the astronomy program ever got from an outside organization, which was Celestron, which ultimately donated to us more than $15,000 worth of equipment in the form of telescopes. We had a point where some of our, we just had one that was getting a little worn out, and they said, well, do you want three? We'll be happy to give you those, which was absolutely incredible. And so that wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for the partnerships that we've been able to maintain with the foundation and the Great Basin Observatory through the years. Okay, that is all I got. So Mike, I am gonna hand it over to you.
All right. Great. Thank you, Bradley. That was great information. Appreciate it. I think everybody can see that our rangers have a very wide array of capabilities and skills, and we're glad as a foundation to be able to support them in so many different ways. So greetings, everyone. Thanks for coming into the program today and joining us, because we're going to take a deep dive into the Great Basin Observatory, the scientific instrument that's being used by our Great Basin area professors, teachers, and students to capture the magic of some of the darkest skies on the planet. Hang on to your hats as we're going to take a light speed look at the history of the Great Basin Observatory. Viva, could you put up the first slide, please? Thank you. And if we are all visiting the Great Basin National Park on a vastly clear night with a Milky Way shining overhead, I would say, welcome to this vast and spectacular place. However, we're here digitally, so let's enjoy it anyway. We also are here today because nature and humans have collaborated to provide us with a wonderful vantage point for thoroughly researching the dark skies and peering into our past to allow us to think about the future. And we're also here because several of our own park rangers, among them Kelly Carroll and Steve Moore, had a vision of what might be and clearly understood that half the park is after dark. Next slide, please. About 15 years ago, they asked the foundation to consider funding a mobile telescope that could be used for observations and scanning the skies by park visitors. Well, we went quite a bit farther than that by funding 4 very high-grade mobile telescopes for our astronomy lectures by Park Service employees who are now known as Dark Rangers. These programs have been wildly successful, as Bradley had mentioned and described. And then, after that, when we saw the success of these programs, we decided to dream big. On to the next slide. The foundation enlisted help from professionals such as Paul Gardner and other fabulous professors at our partner universities. We designed this observatory to take advantage of the darkest skies in the continental United States. Next slide. Here we see Paul giving me some instructions on operations of the telescope. Once we had constructed or had decided to build the telescope, we had to start fundraising. We raised a large amount of money to establish the Great Basin Observatory with the idea that it would be fully remotely controlled and research grade, essentially not manned at any time, but remotely controlled. Next slide, please. We completed an historic agreement between the partner universities, the Park Service, and the foundation to place into service the first research grade optical observatory on Park Service land in the United States. Here it is, as completed, with the clamshell open, and Paul Gardner, the next speaker, will describe exactly what went into getting us to this point. About 10 years ago, in August 2016, we completed construction and we declared first light through our powerful telescope. And the students and professors at our partner universities took advantage of it quickly. Of course, this has been expanded with our very successful Reach for the Stars program at kindergarten through 12th grades to allow the observatory to be examined and utilized by students in various programs. Aviva, over to me. So once we were starting to raise funds, we found that there were a number of areas that we could search out, and a lot of financial support came from the Great Basin Heritage area, for which the chair at that time was Brandy Roberts. Also, specifically from our board members and large numbers of private citizens in Nevada and Utah who wanted to contribute to this project, and they raised over $700,000. We are very proud to say that our science project also came in under budget and on schedule. 2 thumbs up, very important when you're raising private money and putting it to work. With many thanks to our project manager, Paul Gardner, Seawest Construction, Eric Simonson, Planewave Telescopes, our board chair, Becky Mills, our board, and a great staff and superintendent at the Great Basin National Park, including then Superintendent Steve Metz. Next slide, please. At our groundbreaking, we had a number of dignitaries. Governor Brian Sandoval, we'll see here. Next slide. There we go. Governor Brian Sandoval and Congressman Hardy came out for our first light ceremony. Plus, we had a host of local dignitaries from White Pine County, Ely, Baker, Garrison, all over Utah, and all over the Great Basin that joined us for this wonderful event. Next slide, please. After the very ceremonial ribbon cutting, which was attended by supporters from all over Nevada and Utah, it was time to turn our operations over to our wonderful professors, teachers, volunteers, and students from all grade levels to search the skies. And that they did. Others on this program will tell you about some of the wonderful projects, scientific papers, and research that has been done with our observatory. Next slide, please. I often say that this is our observatory, and I do that for several reasons. The board of directors had 2 primary objectives in mind for the observatory. First of all data obtained through our scientific observations would be shared and made available to the public and other researchers and students once the original reviews were conducted. And secondly, that the observatory would be used by universities, high schools, middle schools within the Great Basin area for free whenever possible. Next slide, please. Further, our wonderful executive director of the foundation, Aviva O'Neill, has made sure that our outreach to all of these local schools has been wide and deep through our Reach for the Stars programs. Next slide, please. Lastly, this is our observatory. Again, using our in the widest sense, because the foundation, which actually owns the observatory, has gifted it to the Great Basin National Park, but we operate it. This is only proper since the park has allowed us to use their land. And we are still the only national park in the United States to have a research grade visual observatory of this type, which is very powerful. Next slide, please. Well, that's the history, but the future is also beyond and bright. The students just keep on coming from all parts of Nevada and Utah, mostly from areas around Baker, Ely, Elko, Garrison, but even Reno, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, Cedar City, plus all of our students at participating universities, which we see as a wonderful outcome in terms of getting this privately funded observatory underway. Next slide, please. You may have noticed that many of our students and supporters proudly wear their GBO observatory hats, pictured here with my wife, Linda. If we can get 50 or more orders for these hats at $25 each, we might actually be able to make a 10th anniversary version for you. Please contact Aviva with your donation if you'd like to pursue that along the way. It's always a great gift to have, and it always is a great starter in any conversation that you might have. Next slide, please. Needless to say, our students have been adding some breathtaking pictures to their research papers and earning respect for their scientific work. They have published papers, they've defended their papers, they've used them to advance their astronomy and physics careers, and our next speaker certainly will tell you some more about that. But we're very proud of the partnerships we've had with professors and teachers and the partner universities as well. Next slide, please. I'm also here to confirm for you that one of the stepping stones in our vision was to establish legacy donations that will keep the observatory running for decades to come. That first step has included planned estate gifts as well as cash donations for operations. We look forward to further such legacy gifts as the observatory will be able to draw on the interest from these legacy funds to supplement the monies required to run the observatory on behalf of the park, our partner universities, and the students and professors we aim to serve. Next slide, please. My final thought for you is that such gifts will allow us to keep two of our most favorite marketing slogans intact. One of them is think beyond the planet. And there are plenty of people around the world where we see lots of focus on beyond the planet right now. And we're seeing this as a great next step. And second, in a nod to our professors and students, our other slogan is dark skies and bright minds. When I go to sleep at night, I often think of this beautiful picture. As you look at it, I also want to thank Superintendents James Woolsey and Ashley Adams for their ever-present support of this educational asset. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and Aviva, back to me for just a moment. I'd like to now turn the program over to Paul Gardner. Paul's going to brief you on the design, equipment, performance, and operations of the Great Basin Observatory. And remember, always wear your Great Basin Observatory hats. Thank you for joining us. Paul, over to you.
Mike, thanks. Let's see. Let me get my screen shared here. All right. Thanks for that, Mike, and thanks for everything you've done to help make the observatory possible and get that this nice telescope for us that I'll talk about. So my name is Paul Gardner. I've been involved with Great Basin since 2012, since very near the very first conception of the idea of putting an observatory here. So let's see. There we go. So the idea, right? Mike mentioned Kelly Carroll, one of the park rangers that was there back in around 2010, 2012. I had been working with Tyler Nordgren, who was doing dark skies stuff with the various national parks, and he met Kelly Carroll. And Tyler and I knew each other through the University of Redlands and Palomar Observatory. And he came to me and said, hey, we've got this ranger that's got this wild idea. And I want to see if you could help us figure out how to build an observatory in a national park. Can we build a world-class observatory in Great Basin National Park? That was the question. And so we embarked on a very long journey to do that. And the answer is obviously, yes, we can. So that was when we started this and started discussions. So we had a good 4 years, almost 5 years of meetings with this whole team, a lot of the people that are on the call today, talking about how do we raise money for this? What is it going to be? What equipment are we going to have? How are we going to do it? Right. So 4 years after that first question was posed, we had our first survey. And that's sounds like a long time, but it's pretty quick to go from blank slate idea to putting stakes in grounds. So myself and Jason and Travis Simison from Sea West Observatories, we road tripped from Southern California up to Great Basin National Park for the first time and brought ropes, stakes, and spray paint and mapped out where we thought this observatory was going to go. And you can see here the land's been all cleared. So in the year prior to that, we were figuring out where are we going to put this observatory? Is it going to go on the top of Wheeler Peak? Is it going to go at the visitor center? Are people going to be able to access it? What are we going to do? Where are we going to put this thing? A lot of options were on the table. And what really drove us towards this site was that it was pre-disturbed. Obviously, in a national park, we want to take care of the land. We want to make sure we're not disturbing the environment and the habitat there. So there was a pre-disturbed site that was out past where the ranger residences are. And it gave us the opportunity there to sort of fast track environmental impact studies because that site had already been sort of cleared out, sort of graded, and we just had to come in and flatten it out. So that's really allowed us to move fast. If we had to do a full environmental impact and go dig up sagebrush and disturb environment, there would have been much longer. So we chose this site. It was out of the way. It was away from cars driving in at night and any limited local light pollution there would be from the residences and the visitors center. And given this was intended to be, as Mike said, a fully robotic, fully remote, unattended observatory. It's not necessarily meant for the public to come in on nightly tours and things like that. So we wanted it to be protected and out of the way for security reasons. So you can see in the bottom right there, you can see where we spray painted the dome, and you'll see how we eventually got there. So that was in May 20th of 2016. In June of 2026, we started construction. So again, moving real fast here to try to get things done that in the summer here before the winter hit. We called most of the construction was basically a rock relocation program. Trenching, we had to trench 500 feet to the nearest utilities, and it took several weeks to dig that trench and move all these boulders. Just every single time the excavator went in, it was rocks. So a lot of hard work for people moving rocks from one place to another. You can see on the right here, the pier. The pier for this is its own structure, so it's isolated from vibrations, and if the wind shakes the dome, it doesn't shake the telescope. So that's what you can see there, and then you can see the concrete control room being built. By July, we were basically finished. The dome was put in, the building was painted, the air conditioners were hooked up, and we were kind of ready to go. This dome is called by a company called Astroham, and it's called a clamshell dome. And you'll see some pictures of it open and close in various states, and it completely opens up and allows the telescope to see all the way around, full sky, the whole night. It's a very robust fiberglass dome. It has stood up to the elements quite well over the years. July 29th, at the end of the month, was when we put the telescope in. So Planewave Instruments is the manufacturer of the telescopes, and this particular telescope is called a CDK 700. And that 700 is how big the primary mirror is in millimeters. So it's a 700 millimeter diameter or 0.7 meter primary mirror. So it's a pretty big telescope, and definitely for being in a national park, pretty special instrument to have on hand. It's most universities and colleges would kill for an instrument like this, especially under dark skies. Sea West is my construction partner, and they did most of the shovels in the grounds, and they are experts. They have a niche in building observatories and constructing observatories. And you can see here they've got the crane out, lifting the telescope in place and setting it in. That same night, the same day we unpacked the telescope and put it in the dome, we took our first picture. So this is M27, the Dumbbell Nebula. So this was within hours of having it installed. We had it up and running and taking pictures. So pretty incredible to go from May with just spray painting the ground to July first light. And then in August, we had the 100 Years of National Park celebration. And that had been our North Star for quite some time, was trying to get the construction done in time to celebrate the 100 years of national parks with Great Basin Observatory. And on that day, the actual 100th anniversary, we took a picture of Rukba, which is 100 light years away. So the light that the telescope collected came from that star when the national parks were found. This foundation, or the national park system, was found. So that was kind of a cool thing to show off. And we had a good time with the dome. I don't remember, maybe Mike, you can chime in. I don't remember who was giving this talk. Maybe it was you or somebody else or one of the senators. We remote controlled the dome to have it open at the right time during the speech. So it was kind of a fun thing to highlight the telescope during the daytime and wow the audience a bit. Equipment that we've got on here. So this telescope has the ability to sort of send light out the sides of the telescope. And on both sides, we're able to have a lot of different instruments. So we've got, on the left here, you can see we've got these red cameras on there, which are made by a company called ZWO. And those are used for high-speed planetary imaging. So we can take lots of pictures really fast of the planets and kind of pick the best ones out of it as the atmosphere changes. The blue camera is our spectrometer camera, and you can see there's a fiber optic cable, that silver cable running down. And so we can do spectroscopy, and students learn how to deal with spectrometers and reduce data and do science with the spectrometer. Excuse me. And on the right, we have our main science camera. So this is a big, large format CCD camera, which is what's used to take all the nice, pretty pictures that you see, that you'll see in these presentations, and it's what is used for the majority of the science that students do. And these are all accessible completely remotely. So you can sit at your desk at home, log in, and operate this whole system. And it also has a autonomous system. So when people are done for the night, it runs completely on its own. It opens and closes by its own with the weather most of the time. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, it's a pretty cool system. It's run for 10 years, completely, for the most part, unattended. Every once in a while, Bradley had to go out there and unplug a cable and plug it back in, or power cycle something. Unfortunately, it doesn't self-heal, but it's a pretty fantastic system for people to have access to. So here's a couple cool pictures that we've taken over the years with this. This is M42, the Orion Nebula. So this is an emission nebula that's being illuminated by the stars in that trapezium, which is those 4 stars in the middle. We've got M81, a beautiful spiral galaxy. This is M8, the Lagoon Nebula, down in Sagittarius in the core of the Milky Way. This is called the Hamburger Galaxy. I don't remember the actual number for it. The Bubble Nebula. So these are just fantastic. Each of these pictures is several hours of exposure over many nights. So challenges, as we talked about, this is a completely unattended system. And probably one of the biggest challenges we have at Great Basin is dealing with the weather. This is a pretty inhospitable place. The weather is extreme. The temperatures are extreme. The wind is extreme. It goes from clear to cloudy to snowy in a heartbeat. And we rely on a lot of systems to keep the telescope safe. And that doesn't always go as planned. And so over the years, we've had different things that have happened and had to deal with the weather related. So this is kind of the worst one that's happened, and it's kind of interesting to see what we have to deal with, and just due to the remoteness and extremeness. We started at night, perfectly clear, beautiful evening. Every night we check it, make sure things are working, and usually in the mornings we wake up and say, okay, hey, look, it snowed and the dome's closed. Things must be fine. So that was the next morning. Saw the dome up and said, okay, yep, it did what it was supposed to. Nights later, we started trying to use the telescope again. I think maybe Bradley or somebody went in there and said, why is there water on the floor? And we said, I don't know. Dome's been closed for a while. Went back and looked through our security footage. It actually ended up being like that from the clear night, and it never opened, it never closed. And then it ended up like that, covered in snow. And it got worse. It turned to rain, sleet, and ice. Then the dome decided to close on its own. It was kind of interesting after the weather came in. So thankfully, the way we've designed this, most of the systems have protection from the weather, and so there were some things that had to be replaced, and it took us a little while to get everything back online just to do the remoteness. But this is the kind of challenges we have to deal with on a regular basis: is monitoring this, keeping the equipment safe, and then having to recover from instances like this. This is the only time this has ever happened in 10 years where the dome got stuck open and didn't close when the weather came in. So both a testament to how we've operated it over 10 years, but also, we have a saying in the hardware world when we're building satellites is hardware is humbling. And sometimes things don't work and you have to go deal with it. But we have such a great team of people, and the Rangers have been fantastic in going out there on emergency notices to close things, fix things, power cycle stuff. And then we get back online and we go take more pictures. And for me, this is a deeply personal project. I've been working on it since 2012. And over the years, I bring my kids out there. We road trip from, used to be Southern California, now it's Seattle. Every year we go out there to do maintenance and cleaning and camp and enjoy Great Basin. And it's become one of our most favorite places on the planet to go visit. And this is my last trip there that I took. And this is with Jerry Hilburn. My daughter was with me, and some of the other scientists from the partner institutions were there. We had a beautiful comet streaking over Mount Wheeler. We had the Milky Way up. The observatory was open. It was just absolutely magical. And to me, this just sums it up. Everybody hanging out in the dark, watching Mother Nature do its thing. So that's what I've got. And I think today we've now got, I think Jerry Hilburn's been at the helm for a little over a year, and he's had over 150 students using the telescope in the last year. They've published somewhere around 35 papers, I believe, or they've got 17 published and 35 in queue. So he's taken what we've done over the last 10 years and has just blown it up. It's amazing to see what he's been able to do with operating the telescope and getting the students involved and writing papers and doing science. I wish he was able to be here today to show us some of his results. So that's what I've got for Great Basin Observatory and a quick history lesson.
Thank you.
I'll hand that over to Melody.
Thanks, Paul. That was a great track back in history of how things started. I'm going to just do a very short kind of overview of our partnerships, the people who kind of run the telescope and use the telescope. So that's kind of my thing. This will be pretty short, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what that partnership perspective was. So GBO currently has 4 partners. Of course, the Great Basin National Park, the Great Basin National Park Foundation, the Southern Utah University, which is in Cedar City, Utah, and the University of Nevada, Reno. These partnerships are instrumental in determining operations and creating meaningful learning opportunities for our students. Our operations committee, for example, is comprised of people from these partnerships. Each partner brings a different perspective and strength to the collaboration. And as a team, we discuss telescope operational logistics, future goals, current needs, etc. In recent years, as Paul mentioned, we've gained the amazing help of Jerry Hilburn, who has volunteered his time to create a robust and stable system of operations. He closely monitors the telescope during observations, collects data for partners, has created curriculum for students, gone to the telescope site on many occasions to fix things and done upgrades, and finally is training a team of telescope operators, ensuring the ongoing capacity of the facility. At UNR in particular, where I'm at, the GBL Collaborative has provided many opportunities for our students and faculty on several levels. And this is just a short list. Obviously, undergraduate research projects, astronomy lab projects. We have an astronomy minor degree. Our master's and PhD students use the telescope for projects. Our departmental faculty members use the telescope, and of course, outreach. For example, let's start with the astronomy minor degree. This includes a project-based class where students go from concept to data collection to presentation in a semester. I developed this course for our minor back in 2010. At that time, we used portable telescopes and CCD cameras, and we tried to seek out dark skies in the Reno area. Not the easiest thing to do. With the introduction of GBO and the magnificent dark skies over the park, the projects have been transformed over the last decade. The minor also includes a senior thesis. This is a project where students take the research project to the next level. They compose a project, they do all the background research on that project, they collect data, they analyze that data, they write a substantial paper, and they do an oral presentation. And again, GBO has been transforming for these projects, for these students. Our graduate students also use GBO for projects and research. I want to give you a specific example. We had a master's student, and he did a monitoring project of a variable star, Boyajian star. This is a variable star is a star that varies in its brightness, usually in a pretty regular way. This particular project contributed actually to the international community that was also observing this system. You may remember the Kepler Space Telescope. It was launched in 2009. And it had a mission to try and detect Earth-sized planets orbiting other stars by monitoring the same piece of sky. So you see this in this picture, that piece of sky over and over, night after night. And they were looking specifically for stars that varied in their brightness due to a planet passing in front. It would vary just very little due to that planet passing in front, maybe multiple planets. This particular system was observed by Kepler, and it had a very unique, let's say, variability. It was even suggested at one point that there was an intricate system of satellites, obviously built by intelligent beings orbiting this star to account for that variability. In order to understand the dynamics of the system, it requires near constant monitoring. And GBO is uniquely qualified to do monitoring projects like this because they take a lot of telescope time. That's usually not available with large facilities. But sorry, no, we don't think it's a complicated extraterrestrial system of satellites anymore. But we still are not sure what's going on with this system. So more data needs to be collected. But our master's student successfully defended his master's thesis, was able to contribute data to the international community, and that was definitely a great project. We're also using GBO data, as I mentioned, for to enhance our 100 level courses in physics and astronomy. We have a lab component in these courses where it's often challenging to offer meaningful lab experiences because the class has over 100 students. But by incorporating GBO data and exposing students to this incredible research instrument, we can give them exciting and meaningful experiences and possibly even encourage students to continue along this STEM path, as these courses are mainly taken by non-majors, students that are just kind of gaining their core science credit. But you never know when you might inspire a new STEM student. My last slide here is a picture of a group of our students. This includes undergraduate students, graduate students, and also a postdoc at the 5th anniversary celebration of Great Basin Observatory. They were able to come to the park, experience the incredible dark skies. They camped, they hiked, and they celebrated the telescope with presentations and discussions. this last May, we had our 10th anniversary symposium, and it was a tremendous success with middle school students, high school students, undergrad students, and graduate students, all able to talk to each other and learn about their different experiences using the telescope. I really feel that this experience is unmatched. I hope that I've inspired you to tune in for the next month's talk webinar, where we'll talk about some specific student experiences and have more discussion with professors, our partnerships. So thank you guys so much for coming and supporting this amazing instrument.
Well, thank you, Melody and Paul and Mike and Bradley, for these wonderful presentations. So now we're going to switch over to question and answer. Once again, you can put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. And let me take a look here and see if we've gotten any questions in yet. I haven't noticed any yet. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, I do have one. It says several decades ago we visited Chaco Canyon and their high-end observatory. How does the Great Basin installation different? I know the answer to that, but let's see if someone. It depends on if you've been to Chaco. I don't know if Bradley, if you have, but I have been, so I know the answer. Does anyone else? I'd be high. Well, the main difference is that ours is a research grade. So we always say that we are the first and the only research grade observatory located in a national park. There are some other observatories in national parks, and actually, Paul, you could maybe speak to what exactly that difference is. But ours doesn't actually even have an eyepiece on it. Which I know when I went to that astronomy program at Chaco, it was really fun. You could look through the eyepiece, but this is about research, so it's not about looking through an eyepiece. Yeah, Paul, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's kind of the fundamental differentiation. The Chaco Observatory is a nice little observatory. You can go inside, look through an eyepiece. It's just a different experience. Ours is a fully autonomous robotic, university class telescope that's meant and designed specifically for scientific research. So there is no eyepiece. There's nothing to go look through or go inside and be in the observatory.
And Melanie, I'd also add too that if people who do like to look through the eyepiece and do that, come to the astronomy amphitheater for all of the programs that the park rangers have, and also, the Star Train. That's a great way to do these kind of things as you think about where do I want to go actually see something through an eyepiece and visit it.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience, right? To look through that eyepiece and see these images for yourself. It's worth it every single time.
Especially at Great Basin where the skies are so dark.
Exactly.
We have a couple of questions about the location and how it's it isn't open to the public. So a couple of questions kind of about where it's located, how it's kind of protected for the public. I also think maybe when we answer this question, I'm going to turn this one over to Bradley. Also talk about when the public can access it.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, the observatory is in an area of the park that is closed to the public. We keep it that way because it is such a sensitive scientific instrument. We just don't want people getting, damaging it or anything like that, interfering with scientific results, whatever it may be. But there is one time a year we do, or during the astronomy festival every single year. So for 3 days, the park leads public tours of the observatory, letting people walking with rangers to where it is, showing off the inside of the dome and the control room, so people can kind of see if somebody were present. You can kind of see the inside there, but also get an up close and personal look with the telescope itself, which is really fun. We're only able to do those in small groups, though. It's about 15 people at a time, and we try to do between 2 and 4 a day, depending on the year, during the astronomy festival. So we're usually able to get a few hundred people in there, which is a lot of fun. So they're always free as well if you're wanting to get in and see it, but that is the only opportunity during the year to get over to the Great Basin Observatory.
Even one thing I would add with what Bradley said, a very good question about wanting to see the observatory or get inside it. One of the unique things I think is that we designed it from the beginning, as Paul mentioned, about being a remotely operational observatory. So essentially, we have it remotely operationally capable and available to anyone who's associated with the partner universities, or has pathways through any partnerships that we might have. So in some ways, it's very unique that way, and that many more people will have access, frankly, from the comfort of their own offices or their own classrooms, and I think that makes it doubly unique.
Paula Clark, submit your question again, please, actually, because I'm not seeing it. I see that you're trying to ask a question. I see a question about, are there programs in the astronomy amphitheater outside of the normal summer season? I think that changes a little bit year to year, but it usually goes through October, wouldn't you say, Bradley?
Yeah, we try to go from Memorial Day through October. The main reason they're not led during the winter is because of a lot of the astronomy rangers are seasonal workforce, so most of them are finished up by mid-October or early November. Couple that with the extremely low temperatures we get in the evening, and then the general lack of visitation. There have been days that I have, staffed the visitor center and nobody has come in. So it's ends up just being kind of a factor of we just don't have enough interest. That being said, it's something that the park has tried to do from time to time, is kind of expand a little bit more into the winter as possible. So it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility, but it just hasn't been happening for mainly those reasons.
We have a question on maintenance and how is the lens kept clean?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Generally, the whole telescope has a big shroud around a Spandex shroud, so it helps keep dust off the lens. We do a yearly, at least at a minimum, a yearly cleaning of the mirror. So it's open and it gets dust on it, and dust doesn't typically cause any problems on the mirror itself. Eventually, birds fly over it, poop on the mirror. You get some stuff on the mirror, and yeah, we do a twice a year maybe cleaning of it. So where we go in and do a wet wash on the mirror, it gets sprayed down with a solution and wiped off and cleaned.
Well, if you have any more questions, throw them in. We had a few questions that we had were submitted ahead, and so I'm going to ask one of those, which is, and I honestly don't even know if we know the answer to this, but do we know how far into space we can effectively observe?
Do you want me to take this one, Aviva?
Sure, that sounds great.
So usually we think about this in terms of how bright the object is. So there are close objects that are actually really, really dim that you can't see can't see very well just because they're dim. And then there's other objects like galaxies that are very, very far away that we can actually observe. So that can be millions of light years away. So it kind of depends on how bright the particular object is, and that's what limits what we can see. And I think Paul, you can correct me. I think we can see down to so the magnitude system or the brightness system is backwards. In other words, the bigger the number, the dimmer the object. And so the sun would be a very negative number because it's so bright. Whereas something that was very dim might be 20. And I think we've gotten observations down to 20th magnitude. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, we've tracked some asteroids that were somewhere in the 17, 18 range, and that kind of starts hitting some limits.
Yeah.
And then there's, faint galaxies you can see that are in the 18, 19 range that are little faint fuzzy dots and images.
That shows a big difference, right? An asteroid is really close to the Earth, relatively close to the Earth, whereas a galaxy is like
Yeah.
millions of light years. So
Great, thank you. Well, another question is there a way for other people, other astronomy enthusiasts to get involved? And I'm going to answer that one saying that we're gonna send out an email after this program with some links. And you can actually get involved if you really want to be a dedicated volunteer and learn to operate the telescope. Jerry Hilburn, who was mentioned previously in this program, has really taken on the telescope operation and is training people to do that as volunteers. So we'd love to have some more people who are, if they're interested in that. And then if you know people who maybe are teachers working at the middle school or high school level, we also do programs, and so I would probably be the one to connect a teacher who might want to bring that to their students. And then we are actually open to new partnerships. So if there's professors out there who might want to bring this as a partnership to your university, you can let us know as well. So I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we'll close it out. But I do want to make sure that everyone knows that if you want to learn more about the student research projects that have been happening and the impact for those students, that is the focus of the August program, which is on August 12th. And so we hope you come to that. And then after that, we'll be doing one more program in September, which is a very different subject. It's a author who's going to be talking about his book, The Sagebrush Ocean. That's a 30th anniversary of that book is coming out. It's a very well-known book on the Great Basin. So have a good night. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, presenters. We really appreciate it.
thanks, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Thank you all.
I
See you at the next program.